Data of every description will pervade our consciousness. Holograms projected beneath our eyelids. Direct retinal stimulation.
Welcome to the DCC Museum.
Hi and welcome back at the museum. Today we're visiting beautiful Bonn in the Netherlands. We're here at Arjan Rietvink's office, his studio. He's an audio or mastering engineer that got us in touch with the Dutch Swing College Band, and today we're here to hear his story.
Okay, well, my name is Arjan Rietvink. I'm a mastering engineer from the Netherlands. I started my career more than 25 years ago. First, it was a hobby for me, mixing music together, and my mixes were broadcasted on Dutch radio shows. And from there, people from record companies picked it up and asked them if I could mix their CD compilations. So that's where it all started. That was in the year 1996. Yeah, as a little boy, I always listened to his mini mixes and radio show In the Mix, and and also I was listening to a Dutch radio show called The Soul Show, and they also broadcasted mixes from home editors who made their mixes with tape recorders and scissors cutting the tape and that kind of thing. And I always liked those mixes, especially the music they used, but also the way it was mixed. So when I was old enough to do these things myself, I tried it and I sent it in to the radio station and got broadcast. I made my mixes on Hifi video recording because for me I was always a little bit like a quality freak. If the song is If I listen to some kind of music and the song is good but the quality is very bad, then I don't enjoy it. So yeah, for me quality was important, and it was a little bit complicated to do it on Hifi video recorder because with scissors you can just make a mark on the tape, you cut it there, and then the edit is good. But with the Hifi video recorder, that's a very complicated machine with a rotating head. And so what I did, I had a good cassette deck, and I made my transitions. I recorded those on cassette first, and then I had modified that deck, giving it pitch control and temporary up and down buttons. So I could, what I did then was I started the VCR which already played the section of the track that I needed to cut, and then I started the cassette deck, and then I synchronized both, and I had only a limited amount of time before the cut came. So, and then there was a sort of a rhythm in my head when I should press so that the VCR would go into record mode at exactly the right time, because if you on the fly press from play to rec, it takes about half a second or 1 second before the device really starts the recording. So that was complicated, but it gave me a very good sound quality. The first mix was delivered on VCR, but that was a mistake because the technician on the radio station, well, he made a mono dub from only the left channel, and there were dropouts in the sound, so I was kind of a bit disappointed. So the second mix, I made a copy to DAT tape. I didn't own a DAT machine at the time, so I went to a shop and kindly asked them if they could make the dub for me, and with the third mix I bought the DAT machine at the shop, so then I could do it myself. From there, I think it was in 1993, I started making my mixes with a computer, because there was an American program called Software Audio Workshop, and you could use that on a 486 processor on a Windows 95 PC, and you had like 4 tracks, and there was a built-in equalizer. You could change the pitch, so all the ingredients to make a good mix were built into that program. From there on, first I had an analog sound card, and then I met somebody who could make a sort of a daughter board that would allow me to put the digital input from the CD player directly into the daughter board, which was then digital and transferred to the Sound Blaster card. So and it even had sample rate conversion, which was very unique for that time, because that is a complicated process that was not, those chips were not built-in equipment yet. Yeah, well, since I was able to deliver my mixes in digital quality, they were also good enough to release on CD. So at that time I was really figuring out how to deliver to record companies, and in the beginning that was on DAT tape. So then Philips came out with the CD 2000, I believe that it was. Before they had like the CD 500, and that was a separate box that you could connect to your computer to make CDs. But that was a very expensive box. And then they came with the CD 2000, and I think it was 2000 guilders, not sure. So I bought that. I experimented with making CDs, and yeah, at some point the quality was good enough to deliver the CD directly to the press plant. So that's when I also started making my own CD pre-masters. I was making those mixes for record companies, and they started asking for more and more, and new record companies came and started producing even more CDs. So yeah, before I knew it, I was doing this as my profession. It took some time, because when I started, I wasn't very busy at the beginning, but at some point, I think it was 1997, yeah, I came in a sort of a roller coaster and working day and night. I also played as a DJ in a local club, for a really stupid reason, because I needed to be insured. But and I didn't want to clean tables in some kind of cafeteria, so I thought, well, yeah, let's see if I can play in a local club. So I grabbed a few CDs that I had mixed, and well, it was very easy that way to get the job. So so I did that too, but so I was always busy with playing as a DJ or mixing, and yeah, then the companies that made mixes, they also make normal CDs with just tracks with pauses between them, and well, they said, well, can you do that for us too? So yeah, that's when I started mastering compilation CDs as well, and I learned mastering by mixing. I will tell you why, because what happens if you mix 2 tracks together, you match the tempo, and then you can make one track blend into another, but every track has a different mastering. So the track that you are playing might have more high frequencies or low frequencies than the next track that you are going to mix. And I wasn't really satisfied with the quality of my transitions between the tracks until I discovered, okay, but I can, with an equalizer, I can change the high and low frequencies and everything in between. So I did that, and because of that, the transition was perfect, because when the previous track disappeared, the next track had the exact same level, high frequencies, mid frequencies, low frequencies, so it sounded more smooth, I think, and that's how I learned mastering without even knowing what the profession meant. After 25 years of experience, you learn a few tricks along the road. Since I was young, I always listened to to music even when I was like 3 years old. I had this headphone from my dad with his stereo and listening to music, and in my mind there's always music. Even not at this moment, but normally there's always something. So it's in my blood, I guess. Yeah, that can be anything. I mean, sometimes we all know the situation that a family member sings a part of a song, and then 2 hours later the song is still stuck in your head. So I guess it works for me. It works the same, but spontaneously all kinds of music comes in my head. So yeah. If something's wrong with the monitoring here, I immediately spot it. Or if I listen somewhere else and somebody plays something, I immediately hear, oh yeah, it's nice, but there's too much high frequencies or whatever. I mean, I also hear it when people make new recordings. Some bands like to make their old recordings new again, so because that's better for them for Spotify rights and stuff like that. And some are really good at it in re-recording their own music, but still you can hear it. It's not the same, and yeah, I don't like that. I think the version that you hear first of a certain song will always be the one that you like most of the time. Well, first I bought the house, of course, and then I rented a place in the same city where I live for doing the mastering work, and then I got kids and they had to go to daycare. So yeah, and that costs a lot of money, and renting the place also costs money. So I thought, well, maybe it's better if I work at home, because then I can see my kids more and they don't have to go to the daycare all the time. When I started calculating, and I came to the conclusion that if I can hold this if I can do this for another 10 years. So that's when I built a basement behind the house and work from there. Yeah, well, at the time I started to build the basement, and of course I did not do that literally myself, but when I started doing that, I had like 15 years experience in working as a mastering engineer. So yeah, there's always a wish list when you work in a certain space, and so I thought, well, when I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. And I had this all in my mind, how I wanted to shape the studio. So I did a lot of study in acoustics and in loudspeakers and furniture, and I came to the conclusion that what's in my mind is not always is for sale. So I have to build some things myself, or I have to ask somebody to custom build stuff. And well, when the basement was complete, I put it in a set of loudspeakers, and it sounded really horrible, like the sound in a church, but then a very small church. So I thought, how should I ever make a good sound from this? But yeah, it turns out with the right acoustic treatments, it is possible to do so. So yeah, that took like a year, I think, to make everything the way that I wanted. So with loudspeakers, for me, it's very important that they are accurate, and that they don't color the signal. And at the same time, sometimes you need a little bit extra in the low frequencies. For example, I master a lot of dance music, and when that music is played on big systems, they always tune it a certain way, and I kept that in mind by building those speakers. So I went to a speaker builder and tell them what I wanted, and they had an existing design that they kind of modified for me so that it would work for me for mastering work. my connection with DCC, well, I think it starts in the 90s, and that's not a very positive connection, I have to say, because I was at the Virato in Amsterdam, and of course for me that was like the candy store, because I mean I always liked stereo equipment, and there every manufacturer had all his products displayed, and you could touch it, you could play with it, so that was really heaven for me at that time. So I went there every time they organized it. I think it was in 92, 91, I'm not sure, but you had Philips and you had Sony, and both they had a new medium. I mean, we all had CDs in those days. So the manufacturers of audio equipment were looking for a digital recording medium, because on the CD you could not record in those days. So Philips came with DCC and Sony came with Minidisc. They both had data compression, which, yeah, in the press they did a little bit spooky about it, that it would reduce the quality. And yeah, so I've been to both demonstrations, and both sounded very good until you had to go from one song to another. That took a very long time with DCC, and it was very fast with Minidisc. And yeah, at the time I thought, well, why did they invent it like this? I mean, I can understand the backwards compatibility with cassettes. You have to make a big compromise to keep that backwards compatibility intact. And yeah, so I never was a big fan, I think, of DCC in those days. But that changed when I saw the documentary from the compact disc from the DCC museum. And then I really got respect for how the engineers in those days tried to make a compact cassette digital. So from a technical point of view, I found it a very interesting technology. I kind of passed on both new formats as well, because I didn't like the compression. At the Virato, I never heard the difference, because, well, it's very crowdy, and well, I didn't really focus on that. But later on I bought a Minidisc myself, and I could hear, that was not the first generation, because the first generation really sounded bad, but newer generations sounded better. But I could still hear noticing that some details disappeared on the Minidisc compared to the original recording. But because it was very conveniently to use, it was small, you could use it in the car, and you could touch it in any way, and the heat and dust, it was all not a problem. So I think that's why I accepted it, and I think I had for a few years a car stereo with a built-in Minidisc player, but yeah, more for the convenience of it. And in a car it's not a very critical, in a car you don't listen to music very critically, it's just sort of a background noise, making the trip more enjoyable. I bought my first DCC player, I think, in 2019, because that's around the time that the documentary came out. Because, yeah, I was really curious about the medium, because, yeah, well, to me it was always kind of, yeah, I never took it really seriously, but I thought, well, let's try it and see what happens, keeping in mind when it was made, so in the 90s. I think they did a really good job, and the sound quality was better than what Sony did at the time. But yeah, I think they were all just a bit too late with everything, because I think if DCC was released in 1988, it would be a completely different story. The CD recordable was also coming in the near future at the time that everybody heard of minidisc and DCC. So I think a lot of people also waited before they waited until they had a CD recordable because then they could just record their own CDs, play them in the cars and the Walkmans that they already owned. So, but if they had released it in 1988, it would be a different story, because recordable CDs at the time nobody thought it was possible, I think. I bought a 600 and a 730, and the reason is actually because I think they're one of the most reliable players out there with the least of problems. I was mastering the 75 album for the Dutch Swing College Band, and I talked to Adrie, who's one of the big minds behind the Dutch Swing College Band, and he was talking a little bit how can we what can we do to promote this album. And I was thinking, well, Dutch Swing College Band, it's a Dutch band. I was experimenting a little bit with DCC, which is also a Dutch thing. So I thought, well, maybe if the two teamed up, both could get some positive publications from it. So and also I have mastered for all kinds of media. I mean, vinyl, cassette, CD, Blu-ray, DVD, and I thought, well, maybe DCC could be one on the list too. So and because I saw that you are releasing all kinds of releases, but the rights are always a problem, musical rights. So I thought, with the Dutch Swing College Band, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So let's just give it a try and see if it's a good idea. Okay, no, it's a real Philips. It's actually a real Philips, because I'm always looking how I can get my job done in the most comfortable way, and because I use a lot of plugins as well. I have some analog gear too, but I also use a lot of plugins, and I do stem mastering, multi-track mastering. So my screen is always busy with showing me all the information, and had all kinds of setups, like 3 monitors next to each other, and then at some point I had a big monitor with a quad view that was also a Philips, but that one was a little bit too high, and then this one came out. So I thought, well, this is a bit lower, it's a bit wider, it's a little bit curved, because if you look, if it's not so good to look at an angle to a screen that's standing flat. And also with the 3 monitor situation, you have like bars here and here, and they are always in the wrong place. So this is made out of one piece, and that's what I like about it. Also, one of the reasons I think this Dutch Swing College Band recording is perfect for DCC is because the recording is very well done. It sounds really great, and so it's a good way of exposing the quality of DCC as well. Because if the recording still sounds great after it's mastered to DCC, then it's a nice tool for people to have, I think, to test the sound quality of the medium.
Thanks, Arjan. That was a great story. Thanks for hosting us, and brought you a little present, our latest release on DCC.
Nice.
I don't know if you own many pre-recorded DCC tapes.
Well, I have a few, but the prices these days. So I have like 10 or so, and a few recordables. But this one I didn't have, and the funny thing is I have the cassette and the vinyl and the CD, because I also did some work for that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
So it's nice. It's nice to have the collection complete now.
Okay. Well, you and me both. I have them on all formats, but that's sort of like a thing.
Yeah,
It becomes a piece of art if you have everything together. So there is a story.
Yeah, nice.
Own
Thank
them
you very
all.
much. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for hosting us, and take care.
Okay. Bye.